uh, which my company is using Workday, and all the data, what are the data is there for my company, I'm maintaining in this work. Now, let's say there are some other companies. Let's say here is one company, uh, here is another company, and let's say some more companies here. Uh, yeah, let's say I'm just writing. Let's say this company is using, let's say they another company, they're using Oracle uh, in their system, in their company, and let's say this another company, let's say they are using SAP, for example, and one more company here, they are also using, let's say, SuccessFactor. Just an example I'm telling. So
Yeah.
my company is using Workday, and the all the data, employee data, whether it's a financial data or employee data, all the data I'm maintaining by using Workday in my company. And there are some other companies like one company they are using Oracle, one company they are using SAP, some another company SuccessFactors using. So, for example, at one point of time, this company, let's say, see for example, I'll say this company, I'll say Etna. Say this one other company, this is Fidelity. Okay, this is an USC. Why I'm telling is, let's say these companies, Athena or Fidelity or USC, they are all basically benefit providers. They'll provide
Yeah.
insurance services to the clients. What are the clients they are using? They are provide some insurance services to them. Like maybe it's a health insurance or any employee benefit oriented facilities they are providing. So see, my company has got type with Athena. So
Yeah.
for one benefit plan, for example, they are providing some health service to my company, company employees. So we got a type. My company has got a type with Athena, so that they'll provide the uh, health benefit to my employees who are working
Yeah.
in my system. So similarly, we have another company tie-up Fidelity. They are providing 401 service, let's say. So, and similarly, we have another one more USC. They are also providing some employment benefit service for us. So, all these three clients, we have tie-up with our company, and they see normally what happens whenever they want to provide some benefit means they need some data, isn't it? They want some
Yeah.
data. Based on the data only, they will provide the service. So,
Yeah.
what data generally they will require, for example? Generally, what data they may require? I'll say, for example,
It's
they
like
may require,
colleague data. Yeah.
maybe they require employee ID
Yeah.
or employee name. Normally, all benefit providers will require, and some if they require some number or some address, and similarly, for example, positions. Some people will ask positions. Based on the position only they'll put some service. Like and they'll get designation also,
Yeah.
and and even they may require higher date, for example, higher date. And even they may require active status, uh, like this active status, like that, etc., etc. Depending upon the company benefit plan, insurance plan, they require some data. So now the question is, say if they are using the ESA, for example, if I have a type with Athena for some benefit provider. So if this Athena, a benefit provider wants the data of my employees, like employee ID and all, how to send this data to this. Because at the end of the day, we need to send the data to this company. For example, a server, they are using Oracle, I'm using Workday. So we need to send the data to this Athena company or whatever the third party benefit provider. We need to send the data. So how to send the data? The question here is, so we know we need to send the data, but how to send the data also another question. So let's say how to send data. That means I want to send the data from here to here is the data. So and what so how to send the data? Employee data. What are the data they require that would like to send here, and how to send the data is a question. So normally, see, if it is a internal means internally we can transfer the file from one system to another system. That is possible. And since the I am here sitting here, but this Athena is sitting somewhere in the different location. So we need to send the data to this means employee data to this third party provider using some tools. Isn't it? So we need to send the data. We have to use either internet is the one service, and similarly by using internet we need to send the data by using some tools, isn't it?
yeah,
So and uh, similarly this will also fidelity also they want the data. If I want to send the data from here to here, and again I require some procedure, I need to follow some procedure here also, for example. So now our point is how to send the data. Okay. Now one thing is, so for sending data, see, because any ERP or any cloud system, they are not the only person in the world. So there are so many cloud providers, there are so many clients worldwide. So we need to transfer the data from one system to another system by using their separate tools. Because if you don't have the facility to transfer the data, then you'll be alone in the world. So no, if you are not talking to any other third party in the world, then you'll become a alone person and you'll be a single person. We don't have any option for it. So for that, for sending data, we require to have some tools. Okay. So Workday has provided some tools for sending data from Workday to the third party. It may be any third party. What are the service they are using? But the question is sending the data from this party from Workday to another thing. So Workday has provided three types of tools for sending the data. Okay. So that we call as a integration.
integration. Yeah,
Question is integration. So what is integration? By using integration, we can send the data from one system to another system. This is general meaning. So in this one, Workday has provided three types of integration tools. Basically EIB, we call it as a enterprise interface. This is the one name EIB. And another thing also there, they provided another tool called CCW. Actually, it's called as a core connector. And one more thing also there, we call it as a studio. These are the three, and even in the EAB, we have another thing called iLoad. Let's say this will not be using regularly, but this is also one tool. Let's say iLoad. It's also one integration tool provided by Workday for sending the data from one system to another system. Okay. So, and if you talk about these three, rather four different types of integration tools, integration tools. So in this one, Most commonly we use EAB. Generally we use 80% or 60 to 70% of the work will be done by using EAB only. EAB will survive the serve many purposes. And in some cases, we may have to go to the CCB, core connector worker, CC core connector benefit, CCB, CCW, like that. And in complex cases, for example, if you want to get the 4 or 5 types of reports and sending data, and we require a lot of validations while sending data. In that case, if you have many validations and it's a complex means, in that case, EABs and CCWs will fail for sending data. In that case, we use Studio for sending the data. So basically, the EAP will serve all the purposes for sending data, but this tool also has got some restrictions. It won't survive, it won't give the full support while sending data. For example, some conditions or any rules are there. In that case, EAP may not have. For example, if you have the data of, say, I have the data of 100 MB,
Yeah.
100 MB, 300 MB. If I have the file, you see, if I want to the file which has got more than 300 MB, in that case, EAB will fail. It will not send the data to third party. So that is one restriction. Like, if we whatever the file you are attaching and sending to the third party, if the file size is more than 300 MB, then this EAB will fail. It will not fail. Similarly, but in Studio, you can go for 1 GB also. Studio, no restriction. You can send it to 1 GB data also directly to the third party. And if you want to send to the, say, for example, at a time I want to send the data to Ethna, Fidelity, and USC. At a time I want to send. In that case, EAB will fail because EAB will send only one to one
One to
release
one.
will be
Yeah.
there. Yeah, if you want to go send the same data to the all three parties at a time, then EAB will fail. So it has got its restrictions. You can send individually, but if you want to go for multiple times, then EAB will not support. So in that case, for all these type of typical cases, Studio will definitely support. So here no restriction. You can send it to n number of parties with n number of restrictions or with n number of conditions. Okay. So that is possible with the Studio. Okay. Now apart from our course, we will be teaching these two, EAB and Core. That is the most widely used in Workday uh, world. So these two, I will teach you, and I'll just give introduction about the studio, how it looks like at the end of the
Sure.
course. Okay.
Yeah.
Then let's say one more thing is, say, yes, we have integration tools. EAB is there, CCW is there, Studio is there, but how the data will be there in Workday? Is it because we need to pick the data? So how the data will be there in Workday? So data in Workday will be in data. Is it in business object? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Data will be there in the business object, and from there only we will be getting the data source. So there are many data sources. We have the benefits data source, we have the position data source, we have the customer data source, we have the supplier data source, like that, and we have the worker data. Worker is a big business, one of the biggest business object in Workday. They got a lot of data in the worker business object. Okay. So the main difference between the CCW and the EAB is, so if you want to pick the data, because the main aim of the integration is to pick the data only. So if you want to
Yeah.
pick the data, in case of EAB, we need to go for a business object, isn't it? So for example, I am picking a data from a worker. Let's say I'm data from all active and terminated work. One data source is there. This is commonly used. Work, terminated worker, workers. I just want to pick the data from all the terminated workers. And similarly, I got another data source, like, say, dependents,
Yeah.
another data source is there.
So
Yeah, I have, say, for
yeah.
example, I have another source, like, say, supplier. Similarly, I have another data source, like customer. Just it's only introduction. Don't worry, I'll be telling it. You also know because this we'll be using a lot of data sources while preparing reports. Okay. But just I want it's like a refreshing for you. Say for example, I have three types of different data sources. One all active and terminated workers, one dependents, suppliers, and customers. So if I am sending the data of all active and terminated workers through EAB, okay, I can send it. But I want the data from some data from this data source, some data from supplier, some data from customer. So if I want to pick the data from three different data sources and send the data to the third party, then EAB will not support.
Yeah.
The question is, you can hear my voice, right? Any
Yes, I can. Yeah, I'm listening.
yeah, okay. The point here is, if I am sending the data like customer data, supplier data, including the employee data to the third party, depending upon the requirement, then my
Mm-hmm.
EAB will not support because
Yeah.
my EAB will pick the data only from one data source, not from the
Mm-hmm.
multiple data
Multiple.
sources.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So in such cases, in such case that where I need to pick the data from different data sources, then my EAB may not support that. In such cases, I can go for the core connector. Okay. Core connector will support the multiple data sources. Similarly, Studio also. See, and if you see the main difference, one more example. For example, um, I am picking the data in case of EAB from the data sources. But in case of core connector, I'll pick the data from integration services. Uh, just listen carefully. If I am picking the data for sending to through integration from the data source directly, maybe worker data source, maybe supplier data source, or active and terminated worker data sources. In such cases, I can use EAP. Single means multiple, it will not support. Multiple data source picking data from multiple data source, EAB will not support. Okay. Then I can go for core connector. In core connector, what they will use, they provide integration services. Through integration service only I can pick the data because depending upon the requirement, Workday already provided some services. So from the selecting the from integration services, I can pick the data. For example, um, field override service, field attribute services. So like different data services are there, log services and employee personal data services. So from that service only I can pick the data and send it. Okay. So at this point, what you have to remember is, in case of EAB, I'll pick the data from directly from data source. In case of CCW, I'll pick the data from integration
Integration
services. That
services.
only just
Yeah.
yes, that only just keep in mind. So if I'm designing the in the EAB, I'll pick the data from data source itself directly. If I'm designing core connector, I'll pick the data from integration
Integration services.
services. Yes. That only. So at this point, only this only keep in mind. If I'm designing EAB, I'll design depending upon the data source. If I'm designing the core connector, I'll design depending upon the integration services. So, this is so. Do you got any doubt up to this point? This is only demo only. Just
No,
if you have any doubt.
no, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, thank you. No, so this is about the if I am sending the data from Workday to
Workday
third
to
party,
the other
third
third
party.
parties. Yeah. Yeah.
So normally this we call as a outbound.
Yeah.
This we call as outbound. We are sending out. Yeah. So when I say at this point, integration of two types. One is outbound
Yeah.
that I already know. Okay. Then what could be inbound? Let's say
Bringing the
I'll
data
tell.
from external systems too. Yeah.
Yes, yes, that also possible. Okay. Now let's say I have two things here. I have in my workday, I got in my company, they got two departments. Let's say I have one HR department, I have another department. This is my part of my company. Let's say uh, information. It's a computer services. Let's say. I have two different types of companies, departments in my company only. So they have some data they want to load into the Workday system, isn't it? They want to load the data into my Workday
Yeah.
system. Possible, right? They can enter it. HR, say for example, HR department is hiring some employees. So employee data is a first name, last name, SSN number, his address, gender, hire data, all employee data. My HR department wants to load into the Workday system. Similarly, computer services, they are lots a lot of laptops, their service center is there. So whatever the expenditure they are doing, that also they would like to enter into the system. So can I say this is an inbound pharma system?
Yes.
It will be inbound. Means I am putting inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one more. So in general, integration of two types, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Integration will be of two types. One is inbound, another is outbound. So we are these are the tools. A, B, C, the tools. But integration are two types are there. Maybe inbound, it may be outbound. Inbound means we are sending data into the workday. Outbound means we are sending out of the workday. So the simple terminology is sending data inside to the workday for storing purpose is inbound, and in case of sending the data to outside the world, a third party, that will be a outbound. Okay. So in any case, see for example, Yatra also wants to send some data to my workday. That also
Yeah.
possible.
Possible.
So
Yeah.
means yeah, means they can send the data because they are accepted our terms and conditions, and after accepting they'll send acceptance letter. So
Yeah.
it's also possible for. Similarly here also, SAP, another fidelity, they are providing the retirement benefit to my company employees. They also can send acceptance for us. And similarly, SuccessFactors, they are providing some service, maybe sales data and all. They want to put. Similarly, and even here also, HR people wants to send the data, and similarly they want to receive data from Workday. That also possible. Means both inbound and outbound. So Workday, what are the service they are providing? Anyway, it is inbound or outbound. Both the ways I can use integration
Integrations.
by
Yeah.
using the tools. So these tools, this what are the tools are provided by Workday, either EAB, Core Connector, Studio, or iLoads. These tools are we can use for both the purpose, inbound as well as the outbound. So these tools we can use for inbound or outbound. I can send the data or I can input the data depending upon the my requirement. Okay. Now the question is, say for example, let's say I am picking this data from my existing system. So how to pick the data normally?
It's in a file format, like whatever the file format that basically either
Right.
it's
Yeah.
Excel. Yeah.
Right. You are right. So basically a report, isn't it?
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
to create a
From a
report.
report. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You can say advanced report. You create advanced report
And
by using these fields, and that report you can send it to this part.
yeah.
So while creating the EIB, because this I'll tell you steps how to, because EIB there are basically four steps we need to by heart That 4 steps. Even interview also they will ask how many steps are there in EIB. Basically four
Yeah.
steps.
Get data.
Uh, general settings to get data,
Yeah.
transform, delivery, and summary.
Delivery. Yeah.
Okay, so that I'll tell you while designing. So we that time see if we are sending the data by picking the preparing one report. Normally we'll prepare one report, a custom report, and that report will send it to the third party or any downstream system based on. So and sending also depends. See if I want to send the data to the third party, I can send either by how I can send the data to third party.
Either by SFTP or in a CSV format.
Right, you can send it the data by email. You can send by email. Okay, send it by email, or you can send by SFTP, or you can send it by Google Drive,
Yeah.
or you can send it by FTP also possible. Or um, even I think we have SAP. One more option is there. We'll try, or by using some authentication. Anyway, this I'll tell you once. There are like etc. Different methods are
Yeah.
there to send it. This while designing, I'll tell you how. So basically, you can send the data by using the or you can attach an email, or you can as attachment also can send it. You can email attachment, and you can send
Yeah.
it as an email attachment. You can send it as FTP, or you can send it as SFTP or Google Drive like that. So that way there are different procedures. All procedures will be supported by Workday. Workday will support all these types of delivery methods. It will support. So and see this about the you were talking about the sending the data outside. But what about sending data inside?
Workday only accepts XML files, so you need to convert your file into XML, and then yeah.
So here we use web service.
Yeah.
By using web service, we can store the data into the Workday. So for inbound use, web service. This is easy. So if you are sending data, you can prepare a report, or you can pick the data from web service and make the file and send it. But if you are loading the data into the Workday, you need to use the web service.
Web services.
Yeah, but using web service only, you can send you can store the data into the Workday system. Okay. So there are higher web there many are there. Workday already delivered so many web services. Once you say Workday web services WWS, you can find whole lot of list. There among the list you can select depending upon your requirements. For example, if I want to send the higher employee data, then I should use higher employee web service. If I want to change the position data of some employees, then I should use position web
Web
service.
service.
Like so, we need to use web. So basically, what we need to keep in mind is if I am sending the data, means if I am loading the data into Workday, I should use web service
Web service.
in the integration only again because sending data, receiving data to the Workday will be an integration,
Yeah.
isn't it? So the integration will have two types, either inbound or outbound. And I have the tools delivered by Workday, EAB, Core Connector, and Studio. I loads also
Yeah.
there because in the beginning stage, for example, if I am migrating my existing system to Workday, in that case I have a lot of data. In that case, I use iLoads for loading the data. It's a the data which I am loading from old system to the new Workday system. I can use iLoads where the iLoads can support till 500 MB also. So that way I can use it. That also an integration only. And similarly, core connector because if I want to use the core connector, I should use the integration services for loading the data, for picking the data from the
Yeah.
Workday. and in all the cases it will be inbound or outbound. Okay. But if I want to load the data into the Workday using integration, I should use web service. But for sending data, I can use either web service or I can use as a report. Okay. Do you remember which reports will support web service?
Advanced reports only. You cannot have the simple reports.
Right, exactly. So only advanced reports will support the web service. Web service enabled. Okay. If you want to send the data from Workday to the third party, you must create a advanced report on it.
Advanced report.
There are Prism reports also there, which data source you can enable. But at this point, Prism will be another big topic again. So just keep in mind that we have the uh, advanced reports. In the advanced reports only, we have the option to enable as a web service.
Web service.
Then
Yeah.
only it will come into the integration for picking
Yeah.
the data. Okay. So that way we can. So and similarly, even if you are sending internally also, we should. So for sending, so only blind idea here is for sending data or receiving data to the Workday or third party or any client or among the departments, we can do this using integration only. So those may be inbound or outbound. And for everything, see, for example, so why I am telling about this FTP and SQL. So see, I have the Workday system here, and Athena has got the Oracle system. So Oracle will not allow Workday directly to access this server,
Yeah.
isn't it? So there is
Yeah.
some authentication methods out there. We have PGP keys, we have a username and password authentication. Once this is authenticated, then only it will allow the data to flow into the. Similarly, same case,
System.
even
Yeah.
if any data is coming into the Workday, we have some authentication methods here. So unless it's authenticated, then data will not be accepted by Workday. Similarly, for the third parties also, they also might be. So all this data, all this information for authentication methods, any keys, all will be shared among between these two companies. Then only the data and the integration will be designed. Accordingly, data will be sent for verification. Okay. Before sending, we do verify ourselves before
Yeah.
sending
We
data by
validate. Yeah.
FTP, validate it, and then only we can send it. So these things I will be covering. Okay. Uh, Both the case inbound or outbound, and similarly because report creation also it is there is simple reports only. You know very well. Simply I'll create one report and send the data. So inbound or
Yeah.
outbound depending upon the requirement. So this is the brief about the course which will be I'll be taking. And do you have any doubts up till now, or any? Is it okay to go like this same pace, or you would like me to go a little bit faster or a little bit slow? How do you like?
Doesn't matter. I mean, I'm okay with the space. So even it's a bit
Okay.
faster, but because it's
Okay.
introduction part, so even it was a bit faster,
Mm,
it's fine. But when it comes to
okay.
technicality, let's go with the same pace. Yeah.
Okay. You are good with this language, miss.
Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes
Yes,
I'll just
I
speak
am.
Telugu also. Don't worry. మీకు అర్థం
No
కావాలంటే
worries,
తెలుగు
no
చెప్తాను.
worries. పర్వాలేదండి.
అట్లా.
ఎలా అయినా
ఓకే.
పర్వాలేదు. లాంగ్వేజ్ దేముంది? I mean, for my
ఆ,
understanding is important, right? So
ఎస్ ఎస్ ఎస్
పర్లేదు.
కరెక్ట్.
తెలుగు అయినా పర్లేదు. ప్యూర్
యా యా.
తెలుగులో పోదామన్నా పర్లేదు.
మధ్య మధ్య నేను చెప్తుంటే తెలుగులో కూడా మీకు అర్థం కావడానికి ఎనీవే
ఓకే.
దట్స్ ఆర్ నాట్ కొన్ని మా తెలుగులో చెప్పలేము కొన్ని టర్మ్స్ ఇంగ్లీష్ చెప్పాల్సి
ఓకే అండి.
అందుకే
ఓకే అండి.
సో every day will start at 10:30
Yeah, sure.
from tomorrow.
Yeah,
Uh, and it will be around 40 to 1 hour,
yeah.
40 minutes to 60 minutes class. ఎందుకంటే నేను ఎక్కువ టైం తీసుకున్నా మళ్ళీ నాకు నెక్స్ట్ మా ఆఫీస్ వర్క్ స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది.
ఓకే
So
అండి.
we'll
నో
go
వరీస్.
slow and in between, whenever I'm telling, explaining, if you get any doubts, just stop me. I'll
Yeah,
clarify.
sure.
Then we'll go forward. So
ఓకే అండి.
it's not that I will go just so we'll understand the concept and similar. So as you said, Workday will give the data in the form of XML.
Yeah.
ఏదైనా రిపోర్ట్ ఉందంటే XML లోనే ఇస్తుంది. It will give an XML only. But what happens is some cases, say for example, I have Fidelity. Fidelity will accept the worker data in XML format only. But Ethna, they didn't accept it. We have Parrot, one more. uh, vendor, third-party vendor, parent, they want the data in the form of CSV. So,
CSV, yeah.
but in that case, so since my Workday is giving the data in the form of simple XML, then if the third party wants the data in the form of CSV, then I need to transform the file. I need to
File
transform
into
the file from
CSV.
XML to CSV. Then only I can transfer the file. So before transformation, without transformation, I cannot send the data to the third party because their system will not understand the data what you're sending from Workday to the third party. If it is not a CSV file, if it is a
Yeah.
XML file, it will simply reject. Right? So in that case, so transformation is required only where the requirement is CSV or text.
CSV.
If
Yeah.
not required, directly you can send it without any transformation. So all
Transformation.
these things comes into the designing model. So transformation is
Okay.
required if the third party require the file in the different format other than the XML format.
XML
So
format.
nowadays what happens, so many companies, they are accepting XML format file only.
Yeah.
Sometimes they accept JSON file. Because JSON also one more format is there. JSON also they accept. But what we do is we have the limitation. Our system will give only XML. If they want in JSON, we need to convert from XML to JSON. If they want file in CSV, we need to convert the file, transform the file from XML to the CSV and send it to the
CSV.
end data. Okay.
Yeah.
This thing will take care in while designing the transformation. If transformation
Transformation.
required, then only we'll do transformation. Otherwise, directly send the file.
Send the file. Yeah.
But in case of inbound, maybe not required. Inbound, if the employee is entering the data, so they directly enter in the interface
Yeah.
by sending the file. So for in that case, we use the template if they want
Yeah.
to see.
XML template. Yeah.
Template. So why this template concept will come? For example, if I am hiring an employees, let's say 1,000 employees I'm hiring for that day, 1,000 employees data, their name and all. So for entering the HR person, the 1,000 employees data into the system may take lot of time. It may consume a
Yeah.
lot of time. So if I have a template, if I give the integration to the HR person, he will simply fill in that template and upload it to the work. So within no time, you can upload the data of the employees. Instead of entering individual employees' data into the system, take a lot of time. So if I give a integration tool to them, they will give a file, a text file or a XLS file. Then I use that, but by taking that file, by running the integration, I can simply
Yeah.
execute the integration. So that way it is. So that's why integration is the most important. It will save the time actually basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll stop here.
Sure. మీరు
If you have any
సపోర్ట్ ఇస్తారా అండి మీరు? అంటే
support
రిపోర్ట్స్
for
కి
what, ఇవ్వగలను.
ఓకే.
కానీ ఏమంటే ఇప్పుడు సపోజ్ మీరు ఇప్పుడు ఇచ్చారనుకోండి, నేను ఇవ్వాలనే మీకు ఇవ్వలేను. రిపోర్ట్ అట్లీస్ట్ ఒకవేళ టిపికల్ అయితే ఐ మే టేక్ 1 or 2 days ఫర్
ఓకే.
గివింగ్.
ఓకే. ఓకే. ఓకే.
ఇప్పుడు సపోజ్ నాకు ఇప్పుడు చెప్పేసి నాకు ఈ రిపోర్ట్ తయారు చేయమంటే ఇప్పుడు తయారు చేయలేను. ఇక్కడ నాకు వర్క్ ఉంటుంది కనుక నేను అది తీసుకొని దాని ఇన్పుట్స్ అన్ని స్టడీ చేసి నేను మీకు డిజైన్ చేసి నెక్స్ట్ డేనో
ఓకే. ఓకే.
లేకపోతే
ఓకే.
ఆ
ఓకే.
నెక్స్ట్ డేనే ఇవ్వగలను. రిపోర్ట్
ఓకే.
అనే కాదు,
అర్థమైంది.
ఈవెన్ ఇంటిగ్రేషన్ అయినా కూడా ఏమైనా వేరే అయినా కూడా ఏదైనా కూడా జనరల్గా ఇప్పుడు మీరు మీ కంపెనీలో కూడా వెంటనే కమిట్ చేయరు కదా.
హ్మ్.
విల్ నాట్ బి కమిటింగ్ ఇమీడియట్లీ దట్ ఐ డూ ఇట్. సో యుల్ బి
అదేనండి.
బ్రీఫింగ్ ఇట్, స్టడీయింగ్ ది రిక్వైర్మెంట్ అండ్ డిపెండింగ్ ఆన్ ది రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఓన్లీ యుల్ బి గోయింగ్ ఫర్ ఇట్. సో ద
ఓకే
సేమ్
అండి.
కేస్ హియర్.
ఓకే. ఓకే అండి.
Yeah. Any other things?
అంతే అండి. అంతే.